This is so difficult. Like, who am I to tell you how to act?
I won't be surprised. Or actually, I might be surprised.
I don't think it's the thing is like I think it's disappointing but not surprising.
I think what K-Mel said was that was political suicide for
Something being super professional doesn't always mean that this stuff goes away, and that it does take people starting to acknowledge something. You sometimes don't even see a picture posted of who won, and if it is, it's in a story.
In a jam. Like if we had caring adults around us, maybe this would have been a bit different.
How do you guys feel when the competitor on the other side is saying you're trash, you're whack, you can't do anything, and I'm cursing you out, and then after I smile at you, I'm like, good job. My name is Pierre Rad Sweet P. Thank you for joining us on this episode. Guys, like and subscribe. Once again, follow the Hotpot. Also follow our Patreon where you'll get exclusive content to become the podcast of value. We are trying to generate income for dancers and professionals who are in the art, but passively with investments, with crypto. So if you just want to take a look at my portfolio, I can show y'all what I'm doing, not financial advice, but allow me to show you what I'm doing with my portfolio, with crypto, whatever it might be, stocks, whatever. I'm giving out all different types of news. So also make sure you go shop at thehotpotstudio.com. We have exquisite, the finest merch on earth. And yeah, I'm sure that you guys will like that. Welcome to the Hotpot podcast. And we have two world dancers in the studio today. We have Michi in the house. And we also got Jose, guys. So man, one more time for the guys. Y'all throw it up for them. Really love having y'all here. Just to give us a quick intro to what you guys are kind of currently doing. What's kind of going on in life right now? Can you give us a quick intro to like who you are? What are y'all doing? Everything of that nature.
As most of you know, my name's Jose. I know my other name as well. And so I work for a nonprofit called Houston Revision, who focuses on gang prevention program, who is tied to an existing nonprofit called Youth Advocates, who helped do gang prevention all the way back in '96. They've evolved themselves with a variety of things, but breaking was one of them around this time. That's a much larger story. Maybe we can get deep into that sometime, but pretty much all of us came from this place. Some people could know it as YA, Youth Advocates, but all of us have been participating if you came from Houston. If you learn to break, that was a spot to go to. So I work for them now. I do a lot of management for all their programming. And then this year, their initiative to finally get back into breaking and not only have the open spaces like they always have and bringing some kind of education to them, is also starting to bring in a league for the youth and creating a couple of events, larger events for our youth to start working towards.
Yes, sir.
So that's where we're at right now.
Nice. And we have the wonderful Michi in the studio for the first time, guys. She's been in the background of kind of everything that I've been a part of. So Michi, tell us about you.
Okay. Yeah. So I have been breaking for quite a few years now, but currently I am an assistant director at an independent school, and we've been trying to implement breaking. So we started with one studio about 2 years ago, and then we went to another studio over the summer. So we worked with No Breaks, we worked with Winter Circle, and then we landed on Revision for this past year. So we have an after-school program where we use multiple different clubs. And in those clubs, we kind of give the vendors free range to do what they want. And we found that quite a few kids have actually started to enjoy breaking, and that it's a different avenue than what we're kind of used to of working in like public schools or community centers, is being in a private school with just families in a different demographic that aren't really familiar with breaking, and they're doing it more so just because their kids took an interest in it. And it's given a lot of perspective on what a lot of like different families are looking for when it comes to a new sport or activity that they're not familiar with, and what makes them want to stay, which has been a very interesting like insight that I've gotten recently that we'll probably go into later. We've talked about it quite a bit.
For sure, man. Both of y'all sound like extremely official. Like, I don't know where y'all been getting training from. Y'all had a lot of training, obviously. Y'all gonna hear me stuttering all this time, but it's all right. We're gonna keep going with this show.
It's okay. I'm trying to stop the amount of ums. I'm like under here, like just counting. Like, don't say it again. Don't say it again.
That was literally me when I first started, because I have the worst. Like, I feel public speaking. So I kind of like in a way started this to also help me with my speech and just being better, like a better public speaker. Let's go. I just did it right now.
It's okay. Anytime someone's trying to put me on a mic at a jam, I'm like, please take this away from me. I don't know what to say. I do not have the voice or the charisma for this job.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think you got it. Yeah, both got it.
I mean, I'll talk. I'm just saying I don't talk when it comes to the jam stuff.
Hey, but Jose, you sound official, man. So, Jose, for those of y'all who don't know, he's been a longtime rival of, I guess, like us, like all of us kind of coming up. So with Rad or Lab, whatever you want to call it, but Rad going against HDK, now Renegades, and maybe both. It's both, right?
Both, yeah. I mean, yeah, both.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting to see that dynamic and like everyone kind of like growing, and now we kind of have this general perspective of everything. So actually, these are topics that I have kind of like lined up, and I'm just kind of read through them. So tell us more about yourself. Dancing, something you focus on full time. So that's career wise. Actually, let's go into that. What are y'all doing full time? Well, actually, you just mentioned working at schools and.
Well, dancing wise, I mean, dancing. I've been breaking since I was 16 years old. It was just something that I was part of the program for AAU Revision, where I guess I finally get to really share it on recorded tape. I've shared it before with public spaces like the news and stuff like that for work. But actually, I was part of YA because we all know that there's this mecca, right? That everybody goes. If you ever want to get into breaking, you go to this place. I had run into a lot of trouble at school when I was 15. I've gotten a lot of tickets, a lot of fighting in school, hanging out with the wrong crowd, where I was raised to with my siblings. I had just acquired a lot of tickets and truancy and stuff like this. And I needed to do about 240 hours of community service. I was already dancing a little bit, but nothing too serious.
And you were on the way in.
Yeah. So I'll share a little bit more information, but every male figure in my household has been in prison for 10 years or more. And so this was kind of like a thing in my home that I always was told, like, I'm probably going to end up like them. Literally verbatim from family members. And so, I mean, one of my best friends, Tommy, he's teaching me a couple of steps. He's like, we should go to that, YA place. I'm like, I don't know, man, they're really good. I don't know if I want to go over there. When we're there, I found out somebody's doing community service. So I'm like, yo, I'll do community service here.
Yeah, and just dancing too.
Yeah, so I talked to Ms. Rachel, and there was another lady that worked there. And so I was like, yo, can I do community service here? So they're like, yeah, just come on. And so that's kind of what kept me going there. A lot of people didn't know this at the time I was going there, but that's why I would be there all the time as well. So, thanks to YA at the time revision, I was able to, man, so dope. All these resources that you're able to have access to. I did my 240 hours. He went up there with my APs, got all my information and all my makeup work, signed off on the hours, got my documentation ready to present to the judge the month I turned 18. And they dismissed everything, man. They dismissed every bit of it, And so I really, really believe in the organization. The organization's perfect for sure, but I do believe in what they're trying to do. And so it's kind of like a little bit of background of how I got involved with breaking. Everything else after that to me was just icing on the cake, all the breaking on top of it. So it was always a getaway. It was a
dude,
getaway. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Man, so like I'd really say, would you say breaking like saved your life? Like,
I'm not gonna say breaking saved my life. I'm gonna say
the
YA.
cliche answer.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna say it was YA.
Yeah.
Because I stopped dancing right after I got out of high school because I went to go work at the oil rigs. That's why I would shoot me. And so I went to go work at the oil rigs right after high school. So I stopped dancing. I'm working in the middle of nowhere, but that was kind of like what was going on. I would say the program saved me for sure.
Okay.
The program kept me busy. Instead of trying to go to the clubs with my cousins or trying to go around, I wanted to go to practice.
Yeah.
I wanted to go to the jams. You're 16, 17, 18, getting to travel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say it was more the organization.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Youth advocates and revision really brought that up for everyone in the community.
Yeah.
And Michi, what about you? I feel like I've known Michi my entire life for some reason.
It has been a very long time for sure.
And that goes for both of y'all. I mean, yeah, I think we were still rocking with you guys since we've been in high school. And same thing with you too, Michi. So
yeah, because what year did you graduate from Westside?
2012.
2012.
Yeah, I graduated 2012. But we were going to YA at the time since like 2010. We didn't initially go out like when we were like in high school, like like freshman year, like that wasn't a thing, but kind of taking some more time, and we're like, hey, we've been hearing about this spot, and West Side is really big on dancing, so we're just like, we should be going to these things, especially with the numerous amount of people with talent who came out of West Side who started going to YA and whatnot, like Nasty Nate and people before us, Kirk. Yeah. But what about you? So are you taking like, would you say like breaking is like your half full-time job?
I don't know if I would say it's so much of a job, but it does take up probably about like half of my time for sure. Whether it's like actually practicing or staying in shape or working on different things. But I got into breaking from like, so as most people know, I was a gymnast for 15 years. And around like 7th, 8th grade, I was like, man, my whole life is just like school and gymnastics. And I feel like it's a little lame. I need to like broaden my horizons.
Like you feel normal.
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel normal.
Like, I was just that shy, weird kid. I mean, I'm still weird, but like I'm not as shy anymore. And so it was around that time that like the Step Up movies were like super popular. So I was like, and I had the elective choice in 8th grade of taking a hip hop dance class. And I was like, sure, why not? Let me take this. And the teacher was Mark from Jungle Brothers.
Oh yeah.
So he was teaching at Johnston.
At Johnston, Mark, shout out. Good gosh, shout out Mark. Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah, he was teaching, but it was mostly just like choreo based. But I would always see him. So he only came in the second half of the day. It was like right after lunch, and my lunch period was right before his classes started. So he would always come in a little bit early and start practicing. So I thought it was like the coolest thing. I like scarfed down my food and I would go over and I would just watch him. And I'd watch him doing all this power. And I was like, this is so cool.
Some of the best too.
Yeah.
Like one of the best form ever.
So I just kept watching it and I was like, man, this is so cool. I want to learn it. But there really wasn't time to like learn it at school. So I saw that Bel Air and Emotion had a breaking section. So I was like, all right, let me go and like try out for the like dance company. How hard could it be? And funny story, I went to the wrong audition.
We went to a West Side or what? Like, where'd you go?
I went to, so how Emotion was broken up. So for anyone that doesn't know, Emotion was a dance company at Bel Air High School, and it was a student-run organization. We have mixed feelings on how that actually the success rate of that, but it was also a really cool experience. So they had breaking, hip hop, and modern. And during that time, I got confused on the difference because the class I had in middle school was titled hip hop. So I went to the hip hop audition. Okay. And I didn't learn any of the choreo because I kept watching all the breakers on the other side of the room, but I was so shy. I was a little 14-year-old. I didn't know how to say, hey, I'm at the wrong one. So I just kept watching them and missed the entire choreography and ended up going on like a Tuesday and just asking if I could try out. And I thought it was going to be the same. Like, all right, just learn this choreo and then like try it. And I was like, all right, I could like pick that up. And they're like, all right, cool. You're going to battle. And I was like, I'm a what?
First time too?
I didn't know what that meant. All I knew was a coffee grinder. And so I just started doing a bunch of flips.
Yeah, that works. That works.
And it did. So
when in doubt, flip.
So I just started flipping all over the place, and Alex and Julio took pity on me. Yeah. And allowed me to join, and that was kind of how I started to get into breaking. It was something at school, and I remember like Emotion at that time had such a rivalry with Inertia.
Oh my gosh, don't get me started. I feel like we had beef with everyone for some reason. We had it with Bel Air. We had it with Pin Oak.
How did you have Pin Oak? It's a middle school.
Well, that's where one of our guys came from, and then he ended up leaving the dance team at the time.
So y'all then hated a middle school while you were in high school?
It's weird. I feel like our middle school was, I mean, we didn't even have like a real dance team in middle school. We all just kind of like messed around and just got into breaking. It was like me, Jeff, Canaris, K-Lou. Well, actually K-Lou had already moved on to high school. So we were kind of like just a 3 trio, and it had another dude, an Asian dude named Andrew, and say Sean. But once we got to high school, it was like, hey, you guys are going to be the next leaders for this group. And That's kind of what's interesting with like what's going on with revision, because I feel like you guys or the scene in a way is kind of raising up a new army of like young dancers. And this is like one of the first time I've been able to really see that we're having like an exponential increase in terms of like lots of young people, like people under the age of like 18, like are actually starting to pick up breaking. But I want to kind of get into this other point. I think it's Undisputed is coming up. And then also we have Red Bull BC 1. Actually, they're starting to host a few qualifiers. Are you guys planning to attend any of those?
I'm not going to any.
He's like, I'm not. Dang, yeah, he shots fired at Red Bull. He said he ain't going to none of y'all. They both sponsor Red Bull right now, man.
No, so this leads, I think, to the next topic. I think I've never actually made a living off of breaking. I never saw breaking as a job. Didn't have the mentors, I guess you could say, that can move you around in that space. So it was always kind of something in the back. But recently, because of what's been going on, and I think we just kind of can become a hub. I gained a lot of interest this past year after just kind of seeing how everything's going and how I feel about personally the scene. And we were just talking, a little bit on the way here, and I had this thing triggered in my head, like, dang, we're all cool in Houston. Like, what the heck happened? What happened that made us all like not be as close? And I was telling you about this jam when we were together, and we're telling you guys, like, y'all shouldn't change the name. And so it was a friendly rivalry, but like a great one. I just remember this changing. And so contrary to what people might perceive from outside in, it's like, oh, these people are so against each other. Revision holds us, or why at the time holds us together. And it's just like, who was it that made us feel this way? And obviously we're young and our brain is still developing and we don't comprehend this at this time. And I was like, yo, it was the adults. The adults at the time, as much as they don't want to say it was them or didn't, like, that's just what it means. Like, if we had caring adults around us, maybe this would have been a bit different. And so maybe we would have had even more people keep dancing. I mean, I personally believe if that generation of us had the right mentoring, we would have like a whole army of top tier B-boys. But
I believe it.
The talent was there, but something held it back to where it turned to making us feel like if he's there, I'm not there. But now traveling and getting to see the whole world, man, there's space for everybody. Space for everybody to just be a part of this and be an iconic figure in it in their own way. And so I was like, man, what the heck were they doing?
Yeah.
Then, and I think my first taste was when I told Cruz that I didn't want to join them, but I was friends with them because I would train with everybody. And then I started getting treated different. And I was just like, man, what the heck is going on? But I remember that being like the first taste of it. And now I'm older and I work with kids. I work back in the neighborhood that I grew up in. So like, It's like, and another thing that triggered in my head, I had one of the kids in the car and I'm listening to the songs I listen to, and the song is just spewing like a bunch of bad stuff, but I like this song. But I have the kid in the car, he's reciting the words. And I'm just like, man, like, they don't feel right. I have this kid with me in the car. Some of y'all might know Makenga. I don't know if y'all know him, but I was like, dang, like, this is the problem. Like, they don't have this other person saying them it's okay to be this. There's other ways of doing things. And it started triggering like some stuff in my head, I think. And I was like, damn, these same issues are going on with breaking. And I see these middle class kids acting like something they're not, and they should feel comfortable acting the way they are.
So you had these kids listen to Kendrick and Drake. Like,
I didn't ride home.
Wait, what artists were you listening to? Like Young Thug or what?
We're listening to who had just put out some.
Tory?
No.
Tory just put out an album from jail.
It might have been Young Thug at the time. I'm trying to remember who it was. But it was. Oh, it was Lil Baby.
Okay, Lil Baby.
Little Baby at the time.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I was just like, man, like, I don't need to be that person in their lives.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I know better. And so this was kind of started triggering some stuff in my mind where I was telling Charles, our CEO, man, we should really like, get in here and start creating some stuff. So kind of that's the reason, I would say. And then I started seeing it. Like, yo, we're all friends. I can just talk to each other. Like, why aren't we just doing something?
For some reason, there was always that barrier, right? Yeah.
There was an imaginary barrier that all I had to do was reach out and talk.
Yeah.
And so then I was just like, man, I really need to talk to everybody and just see what's up.
So
that was pretty much it, man. I was just like, and then I had support. It was supposed to start off with a small league and bring in your brother so he can help, share his experience and his education, and myself as well on Thursday night. And that's how it started. And then he's like, let's start a league. Let's use the best product out there, and then it turned into something else. And now he's like, let's
it's
go.
Big.
Let's go. Let's do it. So this year, next year, fully invested in it, into creating at least something for the kids,
Yeah.
And that's what we're mostly focusing on, 17 and under. And a byproduct of it can be for the adults, and that's fine too. But we're really trying to create something now that those imaginary barriers aren't. We want to have a lot of really good kids and know that there's space for them. Everywhere around the world. This thing is worldwide.
Yeah, man, it's professional. I already told y'all before we started, but Jose professional with the words. So Michi, what about you? What do you think is the downfall of like all these barriers coming into the scene? And who's like what type of music do y'all listen to in general? Are you an R&B head? Are you like a rapper head? Like what type of music do you guys?
I'm hardcore hip hop.
Hardcore
Mexican.
You're like Romeo Santos? You're like
Mexican.
Hey, I learned some songs in Spanish. I did. I really did, especially high school.
It's for your guys' neighbors.
I feel like my answer is both disappointing and not surprising at all.
No, I won't be surprised. Or actually, I might be surprised.
I don't think it's this. The thing is like I think it's disappointing but not surprising. It's like R&B, but then like pop in musicals. She makes fun of me because like Hamilton, epic soundtrack.
I'm about to say anime music. Hey, I'm about to say she probably listens to anime music like just on a regular.
No,
you don't gotta lie to me. I'll go pull out
musicals. I'll recite Beetlejuice and Hamilton. But
okay, so Jose, you have mentioned you think that the gaps, I guess the invisible barriers, like the beef, everything kind of like led to everything kind of fell off in a way because of our older gen, right? No, I didn't want to bring this up, and we don't have to stay on this topic. Yeah. So the older gen, as of recently, I know it's been kind of popular in the breaking scene. For those of y'all who don't know, someone said some words that were very incriminating.
That.
And I would say, I know the younger gen people, I think we live in a time where a lot of people are like, we need to condemn it, which we do. And it is important to highlight some of those people and some of the struggles that they go through on both sides. What do you think things like that? Like, do you think when we hear things like that in our scene, does that kind of belittle what we're doing and like kind of cast a shadow on the breaking scene? Like it kind of stalls progress for us to continue on a more professional level of things when it comes to breaking and bringing a level of professionalism. This goes for both of y'all, but I kind of want to know what you guys think about it. And I mean, man, I think what K-Mel said was, that was political suicide for anyone who is trying to do something in breaking. But I
mean, I will quote Hamilton, like I just said. There's one song where it's called The Reynolds Pamphlet. I don't know if you've ever actually watched Hamilton, but it is a song about a guy, Hamilton, putting out a letter to the news, just incriminating himself over something no one asked him about.
Yeah.
And this song ends with, "Have you ever seen somebody ruin their own life?" And that song, just every time when I watched it, that was a song that was going through my head. And I think there's a lot that goes into it, kind of what you said of, does it hinder things moving forwards professionally? I agree that timing wise, it's not great.
Yeah.
But I think for actual progress within the scene, it's good to have those conversations.
Yeah.
I don't think it necessarily needs to focus on individuals, because breaking did start in a really ugly place. And there are a lot of people within the scene, whether they're older or maybe even a little bit younger within, the last few years, everything that's been coming out, that it's not pretty.
Yeah.
And I think we all recognize that these things aren't pretty and they aren't good, but we also don't know how to tackle it because it was normalized coming up in breaking for a lot of people. But I don't think anyone wants to keep it going, but it's kind of hard to tackle that of how do you tackle something that everyone turned a blind eye to for 50 years?
Yeah. I mean, and some of this stuff came from killers. It came from people who were in gangs and
Yeah.
constant violence, you know? And
They weren't raised to be different.
Personally, I think this conversation is more, I think, on an individual basis.
Yeah.
I do have one thing I do feel strongly about.
Try point. Well, you could just pull it in.
No,
you could
that's
just
fine.
pull it.
Yeah, some stuff is from what we do at work, I definitely know that we're always asking each other what we think the answer is. And I think that there's professionals that really, really work hard on trying to figure this answer out, and they're easily accessible. There's a lot of programs that are working with situations, you know, justice programs. I don't know why we've never brought these people into our world. Why don't jams have them on the judging panel? I mean, on the panels, on the talking panels. I don't want to get too into it because everybody's story, everybody's, you know, personal story is very different in how they feel about it, you know. And so we weren't there during those times, so I can't say that that's what actually happened. I'm talking about breaking in general back in the 70s, you know. But I would say that I haven't seen professionals in within our scene at jams, you know, like why aren't we being spoken to and bringing these people that have a lot of this information to us and educating on us? People talk community, but don't bring this education to us. If you know that this is happening or that's happening or we need this resource, bring that resource to a jam, spend some funds on that, you know, like make the jam a bit smaller, maybe a smaller venue, but bring these people to come and educate us and teach us about these kind of things and how to maneuver, because we come from a very uneducated demographic of people that started breaking. So education is key, and if we don't have it, I don't know how to maneuver. So maybe as a kid who didn't get educated on do something, once you tell me, and especially as a collective group of caring adults, then maybe I can move in that space. What are the steps?
Yeah, what are the steps? Because I feel like we live in a very gray area, like breaking structure, where there are no procedures or there's no one who's ever done it successfully before that kind of gave us a blueprint to how should we continue.
I would like to say one more thing
on
it, if it's okay.
Oh no, of course. Please.
Yeah, I mean, I did come from, when we were talking about professionalism of it, I mean, I did come from a sport where obviously in the last few years it came out that there were a lot of horrible things happening.
I don't want to cut you off, Michi, but I'm being honest. If you want to get really deep into it, I think you should do it on your segment.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it's a very like specific segment of getting to know, like, especially when you're identifying with two people, like if you can feel the way you want to feel about it for sure. But I don't have that education, so I don't want to say that. I mean, we do have another episode for this particular conversation, especially regarding the K-Mill message that he said. But I still want to hear what you guys say, Michi, before we move on to the next topic.
All I was gonna say on it is that something being super professional doesn't always mean that this stuff goes away, and that it does take people starting to acknowledge something and saying that we're going to take action on it for it to move forwards. In my experiences, that was all I was going to say.
Hey, I love that. Because I mean, honestly, when we do ignore some of these things, then it kind of dilutes the importance of what we're doing. Like, what are we having this conversation for? You know, it's not going to be a real conversation. Like, people are like, oh, well, you guys are only going to talk about soft topics or whatever. But we do want to highlight some of these things in these stories, and we do want to condemn the behavior. I'd say ways that would unfold. The internet, you guys, y'all go ahead. Y'all, that's what y'all there for. I'm not gonna, do too much on it, especially not in this segment. But we are there for people who want to have their voices heard and want to hear the message. The AAU, so it is some standardization, right? It's in other sports. And I think it's been mainly in youth sports and things of that nature. What do you guys know about AAU?
What I know about AAU is,
if you don't know it, it's okay, because I don't know.
No, I know it has a large following within basketball. It has a really large following with anything basketball related. I mean, kids, you could say what they play outside of high school is where they're able to gather some of the most talented people for under 18. And, play against each other. But obviously, they also have a lot of other sports within that realm as well. So the thing is, it's a standardized American, association pretty much for amateurs. And so I think they're great. I think they have all the tools that you need to know to create a sports. They've assisted in creating a lot of pathways for sports. And even previously, they used to be the funneling into the Olympics prior to the split between the USOPC, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I mean, I think they know when it comes to sports what you need to get to the next phase. And they're an American entity, so I think they only work within the USA in terms of doing these events. So I think that it's a great tool for us. I mean, I definitely think that their best interest is to create sports and get them to the next stage. So
Yeah.
I think for sure.
So before we get into that, Michi, what do you think about AAU just as a whole?
I mean, up until recently, I wasn't super familiar with AAU, other than I would see it kind of on the walls of like cheerleading gyms when I'd go to open gyms. But aside from that, I didn't know too much of it until kind of looking into it and realizing that it was another like multi-sports organization that allows entry into a lot of sports that otherwise people wouldn't have as much access to.
Right.
Because some of these sports are they have a high barrier of entry when it comes to like socioeconomic status.
So you guys just came from the Austin Breaking event that just recently happened. It was a youth-focused event that predominantly tried bringing the AAU credentials into, a breaking-oriented sport or art. Austin Breaking League is what just recently happened. So what are y'all thoughts about that particular event?
I think it was pretty cool to see kids be ranked within the same skill set and go against each other. We usually didn't have that. Us, it was go battle. Whoever's there, and if they smoke you, and you don't even make it past top 8.
Yeah.
And this is kind of the structure we need. Like,
and you would always only just get this, right?
Yeah. So now we're building up towards it, and I mean, I think it still needs a lot of work. They're giving a lot of leeway, I'm pretty sure, when it comes to how we're building this up. They still need a lot of structure themselves when it comes to this, but I think we're there, and let's try to make it work.
It's definitely a good starting point.
Yeah, for kids. Again, where do kids go? Jams. We get, like she said, right now. Currently, we always have a pay to play model in breaking. I don't know if you guys know any history on this, but it's like really bad for kids who have less resources, and so. If you really look at breaking, it has always been pay to play. The person that has more opportunities to get out there, and people can tell me, no, it's not. No, it's not. No, it is. Like, the thing is that anomalies are going to be anomalies. You can't base statistics on anomalies. So the thing is,
I'd also say it has a giant political influence as well. Like there is the money side for sure, but if you have like a moderate amount of skill, you can still kind of go into space and navigate through politics alone. Like, oh, I know this. I've seen this person do this, and I've seen them for this many years. Yeah.
Or through just resources. Imagine if you're decently skilled and you go to 10 jams and there's no standard for you to make the jam, and nobody shows up to that jam that day, and you win it. You win it. So just being able to attend every event, you have an opportunity to gain notoriety, which is fine. I mean, you're putting in work, but again, it goes back to the pay to play model, which is fine. I mean, if that's the way it's structured, but by the way I hear the OGs, they're saying that this dance belonged to youth that were impoverished, right? And they came from nothing. And so what are we doing now to empower that youth, that demographic of youth? Like
it shouldn't just stay at the hood. It should be uplifting some of these people to higher platforms, which it has most recently done for the Olympics, which is dope.
Yeah, and so some people don't have resources to get to these events. We don't think about that. Have you ever seen a dope people that just never showed up to a jam? I've seen 2 of them. They used to be killers, and they just would never go to jams. I don't know what's going on at home. I'm not going to be asking them. I don't know what's going on, but they just didn't go to jams.
I feel like he's talking about me, guys. I'm just joking. Like, I'm not trying to be big headed off it. I'm kidding. What about you, Michi? What do you think of the event today? How did you like the Austin Breaking League?
The reason I say that is because me and Wang decided to do our events for free.
Oh, this whole entire thing will always be for free,
no. I think we're the only 2. Maybe there's some other ones. I just remembering why I had set that up. But yeah, me and Wang, we collectively decided that we were gonna try to everything in our power to do these jams for free, so any kid can participate whenever they come to do that jam, even if we had to spend our resources to do it.
Presidential.
Other people are charged.
All right, Michi, what about you? What do you think the event today?
I really liked the event. I think there's a bit of a learning curve for both, the parents and the dancers and others that are in attendance, just there to support. But I think it's something that everyone's really bought into and supportive of, and that was really cool to see. As things were kind of being introduced as the battles were going on, people were receptive of it because they were very clear. It was standardized. It was easy to adopt.
Yeah.
And the focus was on the kids. And that was really cool to see at an event where it was the kids came in, they were the center, they got their credentials, which I always love the look on a kid's face when they get a credential for like the first time, and that like feeling of like I'm important
I'm doing
and I'm
something
here and this thing it's for me. And I'm the person of importance today. And I think that's something that's kind of been missing, because even at a lot of events that had kid battles, they were always like, okay, it's like the precursor. We're going to run through the kids and we're going to be done. Okay, here's the kids battle and cool. 3, 2, 1 winner. All right, let's get on to the adults. And the kids are kind of always overlooked.
Yeah, that's true.
You sometimes don't even see a picture posted of who won. And if it is, it's in a story. Mm-hmm. As well as just having an environment that is beneficial for the kids, and it's categorized where they're going up against other kids and around their age and around their skill level. It was just really cool to see, and to see things moving in a direction. I think there's a lot that still needs to be done overall when it comes to just organization across the board, but I think that's going to take some time and some effort. But I do like to see more kid-centered events.
And we're talking about kids because everybody keeps thinking we're talking about adults.
Yeah.
You go do your thing. We're talking about kids.
This is for the youth.
Yeah.
So speaking of youth, this has a giant entryway into youth advocates, or let's say revision at this moment. AAU's big implementation on that, I guess, from what I've been able to see with the visibility that I have. So from an outsider looking towards revision and what they've been doing and trying to create something from a professional lens, how much of AAU implementation and infrastructure are you guys planning on utilizing for breaking from a foregoing basis?
So I had been working on this for a while, actually, way before this was kind of just announced, I believe in November or December, whenever freestyle session was. I have been doing a lot of research before this and talking to the creators of things, all the stuff of the Olympics, all the people that we all have contact with. I have been asking, hey, can you give me something that's structured? Like, where's the Olympic structure? Can we just follow that? Where's all this information? Who was it that certified people? Who was it? Like,
right. What's the judging?
Yeah. Can I have that and bring it to my city so I can at least have something to work with after having a conversation with your brother? He's like, oh, we should just use this tool to teach somebody. And I was like, oh, dope. Let's go find those people. So we go and I'm talking and I'm trying to bring it to Houston. And it's like, oh, it's going to require a lot of work. I thought it was going to be pretty easy. We can just hire them. They come and do it. After a couple of months of doing some research, I'm like, oh, I think I can start a local city league. I'm like, oh, yeah, cool. We're going to do this city league. We're going to make it free. But Revision invested money in doing this. It's not like we're just not doing this without spending any money. So I asked our organization, can you give us some funds so we can go ahead and get some stuff going for our kids? And they said yes. After talking to the creators of all these things, we were ready to roll out our league, and then there was one big piece missing for us, which was how to address code of conduct. This is so difficult. Like, who am I to tell you how to act into it in a jam? Who am I to tell you what you can and cannot do with your youth? I don't, and so.
But I remember Jeffro almost got disqualified at the Olympics. Yeah. It was a really big thing.
Yes, right?
Yeah, and a lot of people, we were everyone was just shocked that not just the Olympics, but I think it was Ukraine, their team took that stance and were like, hey, actually, no, we're going to go forward. Even though I was there and both of them were completely fine It was like, no, it is what it is. It's cool. It's whatever. But then we get to the back. Hey, actually, there's a pending disqualification. We're going to try and really go forward with it. So that is a shaky area.
And they're, I guess, looking at it from outside in, they're in their best interest to then protect their, their athlete. Like, we're going to give, I'm pretty sure that if it was the other way around, they would have wanted the best for Jeff. We all would have wanted the best for Jeff too.
I feel like we wouldn't have done that.
We don't know.
Because they ended up giving, I forgot his name.
Yeah.
But they ended up giving him that entire round. So I was like, okay, well, no need for disqualification. You just gave him all the rounds. Yeah. But then it was like, oh, hold on, wait. Y'all come back this way.
But see, like, who is these people in our scene? Who would be? I just couldn't identify it. I'm like, I don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
Who's that person that's going to draw the line? And then I was like, it has to be a collective decision. Everybody has to say, okay, right here for the kids.
Right.
And so, I mean, AAU has a code of conduct and they do background checks for their coaches and they do all these things. So I was just like, hey, yo, like, I can see that.
Are there any stories that you can tell that's happened with coaches that violated the code of conduct and breaking that you know of?
Recently? AAU stuff?
Well, not AAU stuff, but just in the breaking space or even in the Olympic.
I would say boxing. I don't know about immediately firsthand, but I mean, we hear stories. Boxing, I would grow up boxing. So boxing, people putting, plastilin inside the wraps and, making it, because the sweat will make it harder.
Yeah.
And so there's people that would do this, but we're working with kids. So it's just like even more, you want more things. And
a lot of oversight on that for kids.
Breaking, I mean, what do we say? Everybody knows. We don't know what's going on. One thing I hate and I really despise is when judges are talking and then they don't show us who the winner is and they raise the hand. Like, you know how that makes you feel? Like, what just happened? What if she heard wrong? You ever seen them when they tell each other and somebody hears something completely different?
Yeah.
The MC could have heard something completely different and we'll never know.
Well, just recently, I mean, I don't want to say the name of the event, but I've had people come up to me and they told me, hey, this judge wasn't paying attention and they flicked off the dancers after they gave their decision. So, I mean, I don't know what the qualifications are for choosing or judges selection and whatnot.
We don't have one yet.
Yeah. And I do want to move on to the topic of judging and what do you guys think of it. But before I ask that, have y'all had to break up any kids fight? I feel like I don't see kids typically fight though.
Not no more, but at YA when we're
well, that's a different story. Michi, have you guys had to physically separate some kids?
Hold on, before I keep going, I want to say, it's crazy how crazy it got away, but we never really fought because we respected two people.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the thing. That if those two people said shut it down, everything shut down.
Yeah, for
no matter
sure.
Their age. If these people could be 30, 40 years old, that place was shut down.
For sure.
We don't have those people that jams. We don't have those people that could get crazy and just be like, boom.
Well, in some cases, they promote. There was the event that happened.
Other jams promoted.
Well, there was the one where I don't want to say any names, but we had some people say, hey, I need y'all to get as violent as possible. And you saw people interrupting rounds, saw people fighting. I mean, and there is a spirit to that, where a lot of people would say, hey, how come you little kids y'all so soft? Like, I ain't never grew up like this. Yeah. I want y'all to go in and get in their faces and interrupt their rounds. But I mean, obviously there should be some moderations to that.
Yeah, and my lens from it was completely different. Like when I came to YA, I was like, damn, these people are nice. They get in each other's face and they don't do nothing. That was my interpretation of going to YA, or breaking. See, I thought it was sweet, literally in both terms.
Yeah, but some people took that too literally because they would talk mess, and then after you're done with their round, they're like, hey, let me shake your hand. How do you feel about that?
Yeah. So I think that this was, again, older people's job to educate us in, right? Yeah. Is it keep it on the floor or you keep talking about it? Or do you keep...
Well, but this is for you specifically. How do you feel? Let's say you're battling
currently,
me. Yeah. Or just to say in general. Well, and this goes to you, Michi, too. Yeah. How do you guys feel when the competitor on the other side is saying you're trash, you're whack, you can't do anything, and I'm cursing you out. And then after I smile at you, I'm like, good job.
Now, I don't care
Yeah.
depending on how you conduct yourself outside of the battle.
Yeah.
You know, like I really don't care,
Mhm.
you know, because as long as it was during the battle, it is what it is. Because I'm going to say my 2 pieces as well. But
Because I know some people look at that as strategy.
yeah, they look at
And I know some people, they don't look at that as strategy.
Yeah.
It's like there is no strategy to calling people
Yeah,
out
there
and whatnot.
isn't. I think the only reason it would be a strategy is because you're trying to sway the judges.
Yeah.
And you're trying, or you know, this person gets hot-headed and then they end up messing it up. But to me, this is wild if you think about it. Like, are we here to check each other's skills out or here to get at each other? But, you know, people teach that.
Yeah, no,
People
which is
teach
crazy.
it.
Yeah, they're like,
It's
hey,
learned
how come you
behavior.
didn't? Yeah,
It's their behavior. But if your mama was there and you was doing that at the jam, and what would she do?
exactly.
You know,
You're not going to do that in front of
you're
anyone.
not gonna do that in front of your mom, you know.
Yeah.
And so, like, to me, that was crazy because it's just like, I know if your mama was here, you would not be doing that, like that. And that's what it came down to for me to it, like. So it was unsupervised kids that created this dance, and so that's why. But now they're supervised.
And now they're the supervisors.
Now they're supervised. Yeah.
Michi, what about you? What do you think about that? If I called you trash and I was like, you can't dance, you can't do nothing, I'm calling you all the words, and then I put a smile on my face. I'm like, let me shake your hand. You did. It was just a battle. It was that.
I mean, personally, it's not my favorite thing to see.
Mm-hmm.
But I also know that some people, that is how they were taught to do, like, you know, like you said, strategy, or it's just that they've become comfortable doing it, or it's how they manage their own nerves in that moment. So it's not something that I necessarily judge. I'm not sure if it would be the best thing to have among kids, like to be taught to kids.
Yeah, for sure.
Just because it's really, you never know, and this is something that we learn within working in a school, is that you never know what's going to stick with a kid. So for me, and again, spaces with adults, that's adults for adult events, you can do what you want as long as you are not harming anybody. And it stays within the rules of the event.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's like a positive message for kids to
I definitely second
use
that.
that as a competitive edge.
Yeah, I second that for sure. I don't know how people could take that. I mean, for me, I dislike it. And I mean, I know how to view a particular person afterwards. I'm like, look, I don't like that. That's not how I dance, but I see that's how you are. But you're gonna destroy potential friendships.
Yeah.
You keep doing that.
What she said was, I mean, she doesn't take it into consideration when she judges it. I think that's why we have it. Did we reward it? Who rewarded this? You know, that's the only
the OGs.
That's what I'm saying. So you reward this, so then it's just like, you're gonna do it. Why would I not do it if I get rewarded?
Yeah, I'm gonna win. It doesn't matter.
So
I didn't. Hey, you lost.
So
I called you trash and then you lost and then
so
I cursed you out too.
And
So
not that you need to lose for doing that. I'm gonna say if you have the skills, but
yeah,
I've heard judges say like, oh, they were battling more. I'm like, they were battling more, like because they were talking more smack. I don't know. Like it's just kind of a little. I mean,
Okay.
I like to using rocks as an example a lot because, I don't even know if he can talk. Like, you barely see him talk at battles.
yeah.
He just points. And so in a time where he came up, where everybody's just, you see it's on footage, just recorded.
For sure.
He's in his own zone. And I'm not saying he's never got hot-headed or anything like that, but most of his battles, he's just chill, just doing his thing.
True.
And so it's just like, there's examples out there.
Judging. So judging, very biased looking, outwardly looking thing for people in the breaking scene. Everything is very subjective when it comes to judging. Sometimes people, they compare it to gymnastics and they say, well, why don't we judge it that way? But there's still some forms of biasnesses in there as well, I guess. I don't know. Or just in general in dancing, when you go to like MA or national competitions for dancing, these judges are judging based on what qualities, right? So with this AAU new breaking standard, what type of judging attributes are we applying to breaking? Like, what are we favoring when it comes to judging? What do you guys want to see from dancers, and what's the rewarding factor for people? Like that way we just get like a general sense of like what should we be focused on?
I mean, I think I'm waiting to hear it from them also. I don't know. I don't know what they actually want. I think every city's putting on their own league for their kids.
Right.
And they're still building out structure.
But we're doing this in Houston too, right?
Houston, yeah, we're doing it also. I think when it comes to the judging portion, this is something that we need. Again, talking to professionals, right, and getting people with more experience. We might view something our way, but they've already tried it before. I can show you one quick example. We automatically think, let's judge a jam or a person on a scale 1 through 10. Like we immediately, for some reason, it makes sense in our brain, 1 through 10. But then that means we're grading somebody and we're not comparing them. So we're grading that person towards this number. And so I had to really listen to these people in order to comprehend like the ideology behind it. So it's like, oh, okay, this makes more sense. Yeah. What is a 10? What is a 9? What is a 7? Like, somebody can kill it. And then the next round, somebody else kills it some more. And I'm just like, I don't know, I need more space. Like, so it's just kind of, I think we have to start there. Like, what is it? And transparency. These are like two things that are like super important. Understanding why we're judging this way. It doesn't need to be the answer right now, but it needs to be the best product out right now.
So we're doing this whole training thing currently right now for, becoming a certified judge or
for Houston,
anything.
For the Houston League.
Yeah, for the Houston League. Yeah. So in that, can you explain a little bit in detail what are some of the barometers that we use to reward dancers? Like, are we looking for more top rock, or are we using the same one that the Olympics used? Like, where they're kind of like.
So this is more not AAU. This is something we're training in Houston to do.
Yeah.
We have R16, right? We have Trivium.
Are we talking about worldwide competition?
Yeah, just what judging? Who has judging material? Who has judging structure for breaking?
Man, to be honest, all I see is this.
Oh yeah,
that's all I can think of.
And so I went out and I was looking, and it's like I think it's R16 pretty much. Cozen, and not 8. Trivium, which is Storm and Renegade, and then we have some other matrix that I know. But I mean, Storm and Renegade pretty much created the what they use in the Olympics, and it's been tested the most.
Right.
And so why not use that? And that's what we kind of like been training our refs to see how to perceive the dance. And so that's kind of what we've been trying to use, and we've all for the past 3 or 4 months been getting trained on. I really believe in this system because of the data behind it.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it, because the other ones, I don't know. I mean, I know them, but I can't see anything behind them. And then transparency. One thing I really, really like is being able to see who did what.
Yeah.
I'm
because we get that so many times. Dancers walk up to the judge. What do I need to work on? Yeah. What did you grade me on? What happened?
So I'm big on who did what, and again, going back to this little thing, I don't know if it's because of his marketing and it's required on a contract or whatever, or maybe somebody needs to write it, but why the need to not let us know who does what and do this? Like, you can literally still say 3, 2, 1, have them point and still do this. Like, I don't comprehend the reasoning why not being able to show the judges, because that leaves us with a lot of doubt.
Right. As competitors.
Yeah. I'd rather be angry than be angry and have a lot of doubt. So,
what do I do with all this doubt?
Yeah. So transparency is a huge one. Transparency, it's really, really big for me.
Michi, what do you think?
On the judging system and being kind of like trained on a judging system.
So, yeah. And also in comparison, what do you value when you kind of do this judge grading thing? Like in your head, like what would you kind of value when you watch dancers go at it?
So with this training, it's much more like focus on comparative, which is just having a range of something to focus on. And I think that's been very useful to have a separation of kind of like categories that you can think of, rather than thinking everything is this mushed whole that you have to then try to dissect in a few seconds and 3, 2, 1.
That's
and
true.
Then you're sitting there after being like, oh crap, I don't know if I made the right choice.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about this part of it. Oh man, when somebody brings up, wow, why did you judge that way? They crashed. I completely forgot they crashed. Oh, wow, you're right. They didn't. So having something that kind of separates it, I think just helps judges be able to visually categorize things as they're making a choice,
That's
which
true.
is very useful. And, you know, gymnastics has its artistic side and it has its very technical. So there is some subjectivity, but it is a majority objective sport.
Right.
But there is, even that subjectivity is only allowed within an objective range. And I think that is something when it comes to more athletic art forms, is figuring out what is that objective range in which we can be subjective.
That's a really good way to put it.
And I think we just haven't decided on anything yet to work within for us to figure that out.
That's so true.
So I think that's what's really important about having
I'll add
something
one
that was
thing.
standardized.
When was the first jam you judged?
My first jam I judged, man, it had to be like, I think it was a YA jam.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely a YA jam. And I mean, so I come from like a very breaking and contemporary trained background. So what I look at, hold on. Yeah. So what I look at in terms of like what I value are, you look, I am an entertainer.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask you. Like, let me ask you the question. I do want to listen to you, but
Okay,
there was
okay.
a question I was asking this one.
Okay, go ahead.
So I asked you like, what do you remember? What year?
Oh man, I mean, let's say 2010.
Okay. And then who taught you how to judge?
I would say it wasn't necessarily who taught me how to judge.
Yeah.
It's more so how did I learn to dance and how did I learn to be a performer and an entertainer. And coming out of high school, like one that I did where we had like a high priority in how to be entertaining, how to be a performer, how to, you know, come up from a showbiz stamp, not just showbiz, but like you come from a critical dancer's perspective, but at the same time, you understand the value of being entertaining. You also understand technique. You understand a whole bunch of these parameters that you also want to be able to exude on the stage. So for me, like I was saying, I'm an entertainer. So what I want to do is be entertaining to the crowd. If I'm a performer, if I'm on a giant stage, I don't want people just watching me just simply because they're like, he hit that sharp. It's because I'm highly entertained, and there's a lot of things to gain from value from what they're doing. So, yeah.
Is that, and then what did you do to do prelims? How did you do prelims?
Like to judge prelim or
whenever you chose the top 8?
So I look at a lot of things, but we look at it as dancing, right? So we're dancers first and also entertainers. Similar to like when you watch a Chris Brown or like, you know, these people who are considered professionals, Michael Jackson. I look at it in terms of, one, you don't have to necessarily be the sharpest, but are you able to convey, I guess, your personality and a very unique style of dancing that is also entertaining at the same time, to where, you know, you might not even need all the power moves. You might not need all the footwork. But the thing is, are you able to convey this in a storytelling way where, okay, I see where this person's coming from and they're able to describe a piece of art that they see in their head. And it's not necessarily I'm seeing you do a routine, you're not doing this. It's how, because breaking is very fast paced. You're expected to be spontaneous with the music. The music comes out and then you don't know what the song is going to be, but you are expected to go out, perform, and be so abstract, be creative. So there's a lot of pressures. So that's what I kind of look at. But those other things do kind of help mold, you know, the score of your round. But I would say being able to, you know, be entertaining, be a professional entertainer. Look at some of those qualities, and those are kind of like what I measure.
What's the score that you give? Like, what on paper? What does it look like?
So I typically would. So let's see. I feel like it's been such a long time since I've judged, but I've been trying to learn more of this new Olympic level type of judging. Where
think back when you were younger. Yeah.
But when I was thinking back to then, which is probably how I'm thinking now, is that I would try and say, okay, this part really stuck out. this part really stuck out. Like I first look at some of the things that stuck out. What did they try to like really get me to realize or recognize? And then I also look at how well were they able to execute on such movements or that idea, right?
But do you give a grading? Like, what do you tallies?
Yeah, and I guess in my way, I would tally.
Okay.
I would tally. Typically, I would tally, and then at the end, I would kind of look at each one, and based on how much I weighed each particular score, I would then be like, okay, I'll give this a 6. I'll give this a 7. 10.
Yeah.
But very rarely anyone gets a 10. But yeah.
And so then you're judging with the guy that said, I want violence at the jam next to you.
Yeah.
At the prelim.
And then that's when I say, I want violence too.
But, it's kind of like, dang, what I'm trying to get to is that guy judges completely different.
Yeah. There is no standard rubric.
Yeah. And nobody's wrong. I don't think he's wrong. I don't think you're wrong.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's wrong because everybody somehow became a pretty good dancer.
Fighting's entertaining.
Dance Fight Club.
So we're all pretty good dancers. We have an idea of what it takes, but if we can't agree on it, then it's hard.
True.
We're always going to be looking at different values, and so it's just kind of. I can wholeheartedly say, you know what? For today's jam, I want to take Perry's style.
Yeah.
And I can put myself in that, and we're gonna use Perry's values, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that this should be possible because everybody has a good idea. I think now it's just like, what is Perry bringing to the table to put this, on paper or on a software or on
True.
Make me want to do it or train under him.
True.
So like I think that's what it ends up coming to. So, because then we can't tell the kids what to work on.
Yeah, like, exactly.
Yeah, the parents told me which jam should I take my kids to, right, this year. Like, shout out to Slim.
Take them to Rad Anniversary. Yeah, take them to Rad Anniversary, April 19th, guys. Y'all make sure y'all show up, man. This is gonna be dope.
Yeah, shout out to Slim and Blue. They got to the finals. Both of them got to the finals this past weekend at Bashville. Slim got the dub, and Blue got that second.
Hey, congrats.
But, parents are asking us what events she got to. I'm like,
yeah,
I like the ones in Houston.
Yeah,
but I was just like, I don't know what event. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
and so I was just like, wow, I can't even advocate for my
seed.
Yeah, for my seed. I was just like, dang. So this is kind of falls in line with that. Like
and I agree with that. I've always tried to take a professional look at it. I come from a performance background. We want to be on stage, right? When you're on stage, what do you want to do? You want to, sometimes they'll give you a part to play, like you'll be a dancer, but you have to be very character-like, where you could personify characteristics of someone you want to represent, but also you're a dancer. So it's like watching theater. It's a performance. You're on the stage. You have to be theatric, but at the same time, be able to execute, be sharp, be all of these things at once. And that kind of goes into my mind when I consider judging qualities.
See, that's a quality that you have that I don't have. Like, for instance, I grew up doing shows, but like little ghetto shows, right? For like, and then that's it. But I think I've one theater ever growing up. It just wasn't around for me. I never grew up doing theater show or doing any of that kind of thing. So for me to not experience it, I can't perceive how to even give it a grading system or a judging system because I wasn't exposed to it growing up. So I don't know what it takes to travel and to to do this space, be entertaining, bring a story to the crowd and make them applaud.
Yeah.
So I can think about it, but have I experienced it and lived it? No.
Yeah.
So so it's all these things.
And for me, a lot of it is like round composition. So being able to structure your rounds around a blow up. If I know I want to do a backflip or I want to do an air track or something, I want to do a lot of things around my round that will eventually lead up to people being like, oh, I want to know what's next. What's next? What's next? Blow up is a story. Bam, execute, finish, done. But that's kind of like, I guess in a very broad way, I can kind of like conceptualize it in my head. Michi, last words. What do you got to say about how would you structure rounds? And then also, do you think anyone can be a judge? Like someone from outside, parent, whatever. Can anyone train to be a judge? Could this happen?
I think yes. I think that there's a lot of people that they spend enough time around it, they study it enough that they could be. I think it will be much harder
Right.
for someone that hasn't done it themselves to be a judge, but I do think that it's possible because you have parents that are at every single event of their kid. They grew up watching it. They're around. They're sitting there tracking everything as their kids go. They're watching the kids battle. They're watching the adult battle. They're watching the Bonnie and Clydes. They're watching all of it. And to say, and usually like I've sat down next to parents while we're sitting and we're guessing like, oh, who do you think's going to win? Who do you think's going to win? And there have been times that the parents got the winner right more than I did. I was like, oh, okay, well.
That's a good one. Dang, we need to do a study.
Yeah, we shall.
That's a good study.
And I didn't realize like my bias around certain movements and things like that actually made me go against what was decided with what the majority was.
Yeah.
So
that'd be a dope experiment.
Yeah.
I would like it too.
Yeah, it's actually something I'll do. Like Blue's dad, like we'll sit there and be like, okay, we're gonna bet. Who do you think's gonna who's gonna get the most? So we'll write it down before the battle starts, and then we'll also, as we go, we say who we think took each round. Actually, no, as it goes, we'll say who we thought took each round. Yeah. And we'll see who's aligned with the judge, who was right.
So it's like that kid did good, but my son or my daughter is the best. So I mean, I don't care what they did.
He's beat me. He's beat me at 2 jams so far. So I think he like.
No, but that'd be a cool experiment. Yeah. What if they judge exactly the same, but with no always 3 like unanimous, and then still get the same winner?
Yeah.
Somebody over here.
That'd be wild, man. And I'm pretty sure that there's been a lot of correlation between what the crowd kind of views as a winner versus what some of these judges do. But sometimes I think there's a lot of subjectiveness from the judges themselves. So they're like, look, I don't care. I'm not going to vote against this person. I like,
because would you say a DJ can't judge just because they don't actually, if they've never actually danced?
I feel like a DJ would be a little bit different than a parent. Like sometimes parents just drop them off and all right, you're good. You go do what you want. But DJ, you really have to be in the zone. And sometimes I know a lot of them, they look and they're like, well, I want you to hit this beat. I want to see how you react to this. So that goes into a little bit of that storytelling that I was kind of saying. But other than that, that's kind of how I look at it.
We're still figuring out if we can judge. That's the crazy part.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we do some really good tests when some of us find our own biases by like picking one and everybody else going the other way.
Yeah.
So.
And then all of a sudden, all of them are wrong.
So for instance, yeah, exactly. Like one thing that I do is, like, this was a good example. She tried to do something easy and she busted her. She fell. And then this one tried to do something hard and she also fell. Who won?
The harder one.
The one that tried something harder and failed?
Because I'm a risk taker. Like, I hate the safe dancing.
Me and you have the same mindset, but we would be wrong.
Yeah, no, I'm right. I mean,
comparatively, we'll be wrong.
It's because, like, I know some of these people, they like, look, I saw this person, they didn't mess up, but they were cleaner. But I'm like, dude, but where's the excitement? Where's the ability for me to be inspired and be, man, like this person really gave it their all and they did something. They put a lot of effort. Yeah, they didn't hit it, but this person messed up on something easy. Like you messed up on, you crashed on 6-step versus the other person, they crashed on air track. Yeah, and it's like the person with the 6-step wins. And you're like, what the heck? Like, it's like, well, his crash didn't look as bad. Well,
I can't wait.
Difficulty was so low. Like they got hate. I know. This isn't made up for me.
It's great though. The conversation starts. It's great.
Yeah. I have a question for you.
All right, let's go.
Do you feel like the generation that you came in on breaking heavily defines your biases, or the way that you judge, or your preferences in breaking, depending on what generation you came in on?
So do our generations pretty much create our biases in a way, right? Yeah. Towards how we dance? I think so. Because I would say a lot of the qualities that I pick up from my teachers are kind of what I look for in a dancer. And, my teachers had always pushed me from like, they're like, all right, do an air track off his back, land right here, then move over here. I'm like, I did that one time. But they really pushed you to a limit to where you can really exceed those human limitations and like see what you could really do with the human body. And then if you're never going to push that limit, then it's like, yo, then like, I mean, you're just going to do what you can do. Right. But I would definitely say my generation done that. I had teachers like Judo, Sharon Roberts, Jesse Germ, also Mark has been one of them, Brian. A lot of these people, Drigo especially, and he was probably one of the biggest ones for me because he was really big on Top Rock. So, but all of these teachers, they all had like a professional, like you're on the stage, you're a performer. This is how you're supposed to look out, present out, project out. Like that's how I've always kind of looked at it. So yeah. So when I look at people to judge and I'm like, okay, well, do you have these qualities? Are you performing? Are you projecting? Like, and this is how people do it in showbiz. Like when you're on stage, you gotta present out. You gotta look out. You gotta do all these other things that a lot of people don't really pay attention to. But now in breaking, you kind of come with a little force of animosity. You kind of want to be a little bit more aggressive, but you know, at the same time, know how to project, be character-like. And yeah, it kind of exudes all of these qualities, but that's how I look at it.
It's different. Juan, you remember Juan?
I think so.
Crew, the older guy.
I think so. Yeah.
And that kid, not kid Fresco, but Juan. Yeah, him. He has a whole different mindset. So he taught us way different.
He's like, y'all need to be fighting.
No, he was like, y'all are whack. He was like, yeah, all you gotta do is break dance. It was like, I need to do another element. I need to be real hip hop heads.
Oh, okay,
I
see.
need to listen to the music.
Yeah.
I need to have great technique and figures. And we're like, what the heck is this guy talking about?
And music was a big thing for me. Like you have to be on beat. And you've seen like when we battle, you see like I don't always just do power. Like I'm always trying to see what's kind of creative. What can you kind of do?
Yeah. So yeah, it's I think that element, but this element from him too. Like for instance, lines. When they talk about lines and breaking, I've known about. I got taught pretty much by everybody too, a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
But only he spoke to me about lines and breaking. Like what are lines and what are shapes?
Right.
I didn't comprehend what he was telling me because then I would go over there and they would say something else, and then they would say something else. But he kind of had an idea until I went to Florida. Is when I finally kind of started grasping the concept of like, what do they mean by geometric shapes? I'm like, these people are, what the heck are they talking? And it's like, oh, they're looking at it as a graph head. Like, you know, they're looking at breaking as a graffiti head. Like there's some symmetry to those letters, even though they're like all wild.
Right.
And so I'm just like, I don't know. I could, if I'm not doing this, if I'm not exposed to it, I'm not going to comprehend what they're talking about. Cause they're just like, you're talking about, you grew up in that world. And I'm just like, oh, wow. You need to do this to the kids, like this and this and this.
There's numerous sample points and
bring them all to this information so they can destroy us in a couple of years, you know? So.
Oh man, I don't want that to happen, man. But if y'all do, make sure y'all do it cleanly. Guys, once again, thank you guys for showing up on the Hotpot once again. It's been so dope having you guys. Y'all gave some really good perspectives into breaking and kind of like what's currently going on in the scene and whatnot, and your perspectives on that. And for you guys watching on YouTube, Instagram, whatever it might be, make sure you like, subscribe, follow the Hotpot. Also follow our Patreon where you'll get exclusive content. We are trying to become the podcast of value where we are trying to generate income for dancers and professionals who are in the art, but passively with investments, with crypto. So if you just want to take a look at my portfolio, I can show y'all what I'm doing. Not financial advice, but allow me to show you what I'm doing with my portfolio, with crypto, whatever it might be, stocks, whatever. I'm giving out all different types of news. So also make sure you go shop at thehotpotstudio.com. We have the finest merch on earth. And yeah, I'm sure that you guys will like that. My name is Pierre Rad Sweet P. Thank you for joining us on this episode. Guys, like and subscribe. Once again, thank you guys.
Thanks for having us.
We got five.